In Toronto, the year 2006 was introduced by a successful Portuguese-Canadian artist that has crossed over to the mainstream, a fitting sign for an organization that this year celebrates a quarter century of trying to bridge the gap between the Portuguese business community and the mainstream. 25 years ago, the founders of the Federation of Portuguese-Canadian Business and Professionals aspired to create an organization that supported and promoted the capabilities and achievements of the Portuguese-Canadian community, our community. 25 years later, the Federation of Portuguese-Canadian Business and Professionals is stronger than ever and still focused on its core mission: to promote business activity, foster professionalism, develop networking opportunities, enhance political visibility, encourage academic excellence, and, as a representative voice, advocate the prominence of its members within and outside the Portuguese-Canadian business and professional community. Still grappling with underrepresentation in certain social, political, and economic sectors of Canadian society, the Portuguese-Canadian community relies on organizations such as the Federation and others to represent its interests and make strides on its behalf. Years of efforts have been paying off as the three levels of government occasionally consult the Federation on relevant issues.
It has happened in the past. It still continues to happen, where we are on several occasions approached to know the Portuguese position on a certain issue, or to know how certain policies and bylaws that people want to introduce will affect our community. So it is extremely important that we have an organization, first of all, with a strong membership that will allow us to truly represent the interests of our community, and to continue our work towards these three levels of government: municipal, provincial, and federal.
The Federation has voiced its opinion and requested policy changes on numerous occasions over the years. It also has heard many voices and sought many opinions on issues relevant to the context of the times and to its own membership. Dinners and lunches with relevant keynote speakers, from politicians to business, financial, and other experts, are more than networking opportunities. These forums call for reflection, lower barriers, and open the flow of communication. If knowledge is power, then these are empowering events that, through the membership of the Federation, benefit the Portuguese-Canadian community as well as the community at large. In addition to the business forums, there are two other jewels in this organization's crown. Outstanding businesses and professionals are recognized yearly by the Federation for their achievements. With this, the FPCBP ensures that the number of prominent Portuguese Canadians increases and they are visible, and most importantly, that they give back to the community and encourage yet more people to follow their path. The Excellence Award winners often exemplify the objectives and successes of the Federation over the years. It has recognized business achievement, it has promoted professionalism, it has continuously enhanced political visibility in public affairs, and has worked to promote engagement in civic affairs. While ambitiously upholding all these goals, over time and with much effort, this organization has emerged as one of the most enduring and active in our community, experiencing many successes over the past quarter century. One of the organization's greatest accomplishments, and its other jewel, is its devotion to academic excellence. The FPCBP is proud to foster the community's oldest and largest scholarship program. From very early on, the organization committed itself to encouraging academic excellence among the youth. The scholarships awarded by the Federation also sought to not only reward achievement, but to lighten the burden of rising tuition fees and to encourage the peers of award recipients to seek loftier goals. It has been working. The current president, as well as several current and past members of the board, have been recipients of these scholarships.
I had the honor of receiving one scholarship when I was in university, and I must say it was one of the best experiences I had at that time, and it still is in my memory, and I appreciate all that motivation and all that support that was given to me at the time. So we've had the program for 25 years, and it's going strong and now from coast to coast. It is a program that we see as an investment in our future, our own future as an organization, and as a future in the community. To have members for the Federation, to have professionals, to have business people, we need to make sure that these people are supported and are motivated, and that's why it's so important to have the scholarship program.
Like any organization, it needs the direction and oversight of a board, but the members are the heart and soul. In the last 2 years, there has been a stronger drive to boost the number of members, and specific events were created for that purpose. Member Gets Member are events that have already resulted in some distinguished honorees of the Business Awards. One may also notice a considerable number of people who, after many years on the outside, now seek to reconnect with their roots. The Federation feels like an open doorway for some, a final destination, and a good fit for others. The members, as well as the businesses they represent, are the driving force behind the organization and initiatives such as the scholarships. Generous contributions of time and money are what has kept the Federation going and what makes all initiatives such as the awards, forums and scholarships possible year after year. But the Federation is broadening its horizons even more. Through partnerships with other organizations, such as the Brampton Chamber of Commerce and the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, the Federation has gained extensive resources and networks to better serve its members. In the mid-80s, the organization actively sought out the participation of women. The results were quick, but the current membership and board are still a testament to that effort. Of 12 board members, 8 are women, including the president. Last but not least, the annual golf tournament, a centerpiece of what the organization is about. This event, along with the annual awards dinners, are the main fundraisers which allow the organization to continue to pursue its goals. This is what the Federation of Portuguese Canadian Business and Professionals is about today. Next, we will be looking at how the organization came about, its history and accomplishments. Before the Federation was even an idea in the mind of several business people, a lot had to happen. It took 25 years from the cradle of the community in Kensington Market to the birth of the Federation. To tell us about the beginning, no one better than Professor Carlos Teixeira, an urban and social geographer that has studied the Portuguese-Canadian community for many years.
The first immigrants, as I mentioned, they came with contracts, they worked for major companies, or they went to rural areas. But later on, the dream of these people were to came to major urban areas, and some, the dream was to start their own business, to be their own boss. And the spirit was there. And in the case of Toronto, here we are in the core of Kensington Market, where the first business started. At my knowledge, the first ones were grocery stores, probably fish stores and bakeries, followed immediately, and followed certainly by restaurants and other types of services, including travel agencies.
During those 25 initial years, the Portuguese established a reputation as good and trustworthy workers, but after 2.5 decades, the character of the community had changed. Although still viewed as such, the community had become more than blue-collar workers, working blue-collar jobs. Then along came the Federation, and Teixeira says the difference was noticeable.
We built a very strong ethnic enclave. We built an institutional complete community, which is our little Portugal. And we don't talk too much about that. We don't talk too much about our economic impact upon the economy of Toronto. So this lack of visibility, this lack of recognition, was there for decades until the Federation came. And that, I think, they filled a major gap. They played a very important role. They became a voice, they became a bridge, telling to Torontonians, hey fellows, yes, we have high levels of ownership. Yes, it's true. We are highly involved in the construction business, and we play a very important role there. But we are also, and we have successful entrepreneurial people in our community. And the Federation did a fabulous job there. There were true ambassadors, in my opinion.
The mainstream was taking notice and, for the first time, seeing the Portuguese in a new light.
When the Federation was built, I saw differences. As a scholar, as a researcher, going through journals, newspapers, I started seeing people from the Federation being interviewed by major Canadian newspapers. But what's going on in the Portuguese community? Who are the Portuguese community? What are they doing? So there they became a voice. There they became a bridge. There they became the ambassadors that I mentioned a few minutes ago, between two worlds, the Portuguese world and the Canadian world here in Toronto. And as I mentioned, we owe them a lot. And they went further. They started inviting politicians. They started inviting professors. They started inviting economists, bringing them to the community. Yes, we start learning from them, but also they start learning from us. They say, wow, these fellows exist. They played an important role in Kensington. They move on. They have a little Portugal here. They are moving northward along the immigrant corridor. They are going to the suburbs. They are buying houses here in Toronto. They have small and medium enterprises today, because the image that people still have is that we own only family-oriented type of business. This is not true. We have people with 50 people working for them, 100 and more. The construction business today is extremely important. We are not only bricklayers. We have people that own small companies, and it's millions of dollars that are invested directly and indirectly in the economy.
Now the professor believes that the business community is entering another stage, and with it come new demands.
We need at this stage more studies looking at the role and impact of the Portuguese in the economy. It's true, retail played a very important role, but we have professionals, we have medium and sized enterprises, and these people are playing a very important role.
Recently, the professor conducted a study among Toronto's Portuguese-Canadian businesses, and the results are positive to a great extent.
Portuguese in general are very successful, the ones that I interviewed. They consider themselves successful. And one of the reasons behind this success, other than the spirit they have for entrepreneurship, that idea that I want to be my own boss, I want to be part of this mosaic, is the fact that the family played a very important role. Since most business are small, relatively small, family-oriented and catering to the Portuguese community, part of this success is due to a lot of work, long hours, and the family spirit. This was the major conclusion. That's what we call cultural resources. Portuguese are very strong in terms of cultural resources.
Teixeira says 2/3 of the children of successful entrepreneurs are not following the parents' footsteps, but that is to be expected.
These people, they want to fly higher, so we should not condemn them. This is a natural process. Our community is going throughout a life cycle. One thing that I can tell you is we did very well in business.
And the professor has no doubt that the Federation played a role in that success. As for the recipe for the Federation's own success, he offers.
They were successful for different reasons. A, they had people highly involved in the life of the community, true insiders of the Portuguese community. They were also successful because they were able to balance the old generation and the new generation. Look at all the presidents they had. They had pioneers, and they have members that were today educated in our universities, the 1.5 generation. I like this balance. So that's why their voice is respected, in my opinion.
This winning formula was conceived by the founders of the Federation. According to these founders, the beginning of the Federation was modest, but by no means lacked ideals or ambition.
We sat down, we discussed, we devised, we came up with an idea that we should form a federation that would be an umbrella organization that could speak for the community.
The people that we got together, all of us basically agreed on a certain set of objectives. First, legitimizing representation. The secondly was in terms of making inroads in terms of our profile, our image in the larger community. You know, people thought of us as that we were all cleaners, that we were all construction workers, and there's nothing wrong with honest working, but that is not the image that the community had alone. So that's how we went about in terms of creating that image. And also, of course, the image was not here that had to be touched, but also the one back in Portugal and who we were and what we were.
If ideals and ambition were the cornerstones, diversity and inclusiveness were keystone elements of its philosophy from the first time the founders set to work.
We originally started with a group of 10, and I can tell you that it probably was a first attempt to avoid the usual associations on the basis of parochialism, regionalism, what have you. So in fact, the original founders were people from the continent, from the Azores, from Madeira, and also they were gender diversified, and that was unheard of in the Portuguese community 25 years ago. I mean, it used to be the traditional things of clubs and associations, which were all men, and the women served an auxiliary role. And in that sense, we broke the mold in terms of the founders. We were sufficiently representative, sufficiently diverse in terms of maintaining, and I think that's been the secret why we've maintained. Of course, I don't think any of us had the expectations of looking at the Federation today, 25 years ago, and seeing how young the executive is, how many professionals there are, and how many people who at one time received scholarships are now there serving the community and serving the Federation.
The founders feel that the core objectives remained intact throughout the 25 years. Also maintained were some traditions chosen as priorities from the very beginning, like the encouragement of academic excellence.
Well, that started 25 years ago, our first annual dinner we had. It was very small in comparison to where it is now. There probably were just two, my recollection is that there were two scholarships, and they probably were around $250, which is a pittance by today's standards. I mean, nobody, I think, could guess where it went, but those things were there from the very beginning.
Besides the annual dinner, we organized events throughout the year with the experts in taxation, in the finances, in even politics. We invited politicians to come to our events, and this was the reason for this was to expose the members of the community to all these people so that they could ask questions and inform themselves as to what we needed to know anyway. And this worked well, and we have maintained that so far. Right now we're at a different level eventually, but I still recall in 1985 when I was president, the scholarships were 5 given out, so we kept improving to the level that we have today.
The annual dinners have been each executive's watermark and legacy, but there were many other highlights over the years. These founders believe that the secret to the Federation's success and longevity has been the hard work of each individual president and director, as well as their capacity to see beyond their differences.
We might have our personal differences sometimes, but it's logical. And but we all, let's put it this way, love the Federation because it was our baby. We created it, and we have to nourish it. And I believe that we all contributed to the well-being of the Federation and to the development. And the idea is still there to take it to a greater heights, you know, and see the sky is the limit.
Always willing to take higher flights, but aware of the limitations imposed by the nature of volunteerism, the founders are happy to see how far the Federation has come and foresee great things in the future, a task to be performed by someone else, but always with their support.
We had so many students coming through the association for these scholarships year after year after year after year. Those are the professionals of today, and this was envisaged by ourselves when we started with the Federation. You can see now people that are speaking and serving the Federation that were recipients of our scholarships. Eventually, we all contributed and worked for this, exactly because we believe that these would be the leaders of tomorrow, and will pass, eventually will pass, and the Federation will continue. So it was a dream.
I like to think of the metaphor of a gardener. You know, you put a lot of seeds and you hope that they grow, but to be quite frank, there's that one seed that grows beyond expectations. It just keeps growing, growing, and that is the Federation. You know, I think I'd be dishonest, and so would any founder tell you, that we had any vision of where the organization is going. And when we look at our gala events, the 25th year, it's beyond people's expectations. I mean, there were certain things, yes, we set out to do. We set out to do to serve as role models not only to our youth, but to give a larger profile, the more important profile, in the larger Canadian community, or for that matter, Portugal. Those were certain objectives. But as to where it is now, I think it's beyond people's expectations, and I'm glad it's gone that way.
Now they say it is time, and they are happy to let the younger generations carry on with the work they started.
At the 25-year mark, the Federation of Portuguese Canadian Business and Professionals is looking towards the future. President Ana Bailão feels the foundation laid out by her predecessors was solid, but the entrepreneurial spirit is very much alive in the organization. Therefore, bigger and better things are only limited by their imagination and the strength of numbers in the membership.
We have a very strong business community, Portuguese business community. We have thousands of businesses in Ontario and across Canada as well. So we want to increase our membership. It will give the Federation more prestige, more power to lobby on behalf of its members. It will give more power to have a more professional organization to hire people, but it will also serve all the members a lot better.
Including diverse people from outside the Portuguese community is another idea to be explored in the context of expanding the membership drive.
It's also important to bring businesses that want to do business with the Portuguese community and with Portugal. So one of our goals in the future is to start promoting our organization, our members, and our community to businesses that want to start getting into the community and also start dealing with Portugal. Obviously, we have knowledge and we have connections in Portugal better than any other business organization.
In order to fulfill that goal, as well as becoming a true federation national in scope, the FPCBP wishes to have satellite offices in areas such as Montreal, Winnipeg, Vancouver, London, Kitchener-Waterloo, and Halifax.
Our scholarship program is already a national program, and we feel the need, and actually our members have also suggested that maybe we should start thinking about having delegations in other parts of the country. So have a team in Montreal, have a team in Vancouver, let's say, and other parts of Ontario. So we can have activity in those parts and go more on a national base. So that's something that we're also looking at.
The seminars have held an important place in the Federation's accomplishments over the years. Now there is also the wish to make them more frequent and to engage past scholarship recipients to present seminars. In a way, the Federation is coming full circle.
Our strategy is definitely to put a little seed in their minds so in the future when they want to get back into the community that they have an organization that they can relate to.
In the meantime, the current president is confident that, in addition to business seminars, further exciting opportunities for business exchange and networking are just around the corner.
We have taken trade missions to Portugal. We have received people here in Canada. This year in June, we did receive a trade mission from Portugal from the building industry. And I know that the Portuguese government is preparing a meeting with Portuguese descendants in businesses and professionals. So we have been contacted already by Portuguese authorities, and we definitely hope to participate in that. It is always something that we have in our mind. This year we had a lot of projects to celebrate the 25th anniversary, but I believe that in the future other boards, as it has happened in the past, will try to work towards a trade mission again back to Portugal.
Other goals for the future include more and bigger scholarships as well as more business awards. Another objective is to reach self-sustainability and to have a paid executive that allows the board of directors to be just that.
The next step, I believe, for the Federation to grow is that we have to have a policy board instead of so much an operating board. In order to have more functions, in order to have better and stronger programs, we need to have staff that are working full-time to organize these programs. And in order to do that, we need to grow as an organization to be able to sustain that.
At the end of the day, the Federation is a unifying factor among Portuguese business and professionals. This organization has touched in a very direct and tangible way the lives of hundreds of Portuguese Canadians who often looked for inspiration and strength in so many of the members involved with the Federation. This influence will be one of the building blocks for future growth.
We have a lot of young people involved, so that means that there's a future for this organization. The Federation has the programs and has other people involved that attracts these people. We give back through the scholarship program. We network with other people from the community. We have a strong presence to lobby governments to be involved with other chambers of commerce, and this is what business people want. So they see in the Federation a way to come back to the community and an organization that they feel comfortable in contributing to.